Good morning. This is Jason Dean coming live at you again for another Film Fanatic show. It is Wednesday at 10:14, so I hope everyone's doing good. It is a pretty shitty day out right now. It's really windy and rainy. Crazy weather. There's been, I guess, a bunch of power outages, and then where I work at Montessori School, the school is closed today because of the rain and wind, which is a little bit crazy, but yeah, chaotic weather patterns we have constantly. So I don't know, but anyway, today is a good day to watch movies and to talk about movies. So today is a show on a director and also mainly focused on one particular movie, and that is the director is Fede Alvarez. He is a, a Latin American director. He's made about three films to his career, and he's also, I believe he's been involved in writing projects and a few other projects. But he has three films that he has directed to his credit. Today's show is going to be about the Evil Dead remake that he made, which was his first film. He also did a movie that I did a show on around Christmas time, and that is Don't Breathe, another just fantastic movie. And he has another movie out which I have not seen. I heard mostly mixed things about it. The Girl in the Spider's Web, which is a part of the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. I believe it's one of the books that came out in the original series, and this movie is based on that book, I believe. And I don't know, I heard a lot of mixed things about the movie. It's it's one of those movies. It had been out for a few years. I do love the Girl with the Dragon Tattoo series. The original European version of the three films are pretty amazing, especially the first one. I do really love the David Fincher remake. I did not really like it very much when I first saw it, but over time it's grown on me, and I actually really, really love that movie. I haven't read any of the books, and I did not realize that that movie was a Fede Alvarez film, and I did know it was a continuation or a story of, and I believe it takes place after the first three movies, about Lisbeth, who is the central character of the movie. But I did not know that Fede Alvarez was the director, so I might have to see it. It's interesting. That movie, I had a few friends that saw it and said it wasn't very good. They were very huge, big fans of the original movies, especially the first one, which is an amazing movie, and it is a movie I will do a show on. I do have it on Blu-ray, and I own the second one, I believe. But fantastic movies. So last night I had not watched. I had actually seen it in so long. I think I've seen it twice. The Evil Dead, and it came out. It's hard to believe it came out in 2013 already. Before Fede Alvarez directed Evil Dead, he had basically been working for a long time on these like short films, and then he eventually struck up a really strong partnership with Sam Raimi, who was the creator of the Evil Dead franchise. And Sam Raimi, to a degree, kind of took Fede Alvarez under his wing. And so when when the camp at the Evil Dead, Bruce Campbell, who acts as the producer and has also been the star of all the movies, and then Sam Raimi, the director and writer, they were looking to kind of do something new and fresh with the franchise and kind of almost act as a reimagining or a reboot kind of a thing. So he really saw something special in Fede Alvarez as a director, and he thought this guy has got tremendous potential and has such a unique vision. So he eventually directed. He made his debut as a full length feature director with the remake of Evil Dead. And I, again, came out in 2013. I remember seeing it. I did not see it in the theater, but I remember seeing it when it came out on video. And I remember thinking it was good. I'm such a huge, huge fan of the original series. I did a big show last year on all three films in the Evil Dead franchise. My favorite, obviously, being the original. I'm actually a huge Sam Raimi fan. Pretty consistent career. And so I was, I thought it was good. I thought it was good. But I still felt it did not have quite the magic that the original had. And again, it's that being said, the remake is so incredibly different. It's really its own film. I mean, it definitely pays homage. There is that kind of theme throughout the movie, but it is I really consider it to be its own original work, its own original art. It's very original. It's very different from the original in many many ways. One of the probably the biggest thing that is very different with the Evil Dead remake is, and I almost don't want to refer to it as a remake because I feel like it's significantly so it's just so incredibly different. But it's kind of centered on a woman, a girl struggling with intense addiction and her withdrawal. That's kind of the theme. It's I kind of look at the film as being the theme of the film is, dealing with this addiction that is so has a grip on someone so bad, to the point of where it's killing them. And I feel like that's kind of what the movie's about. Even though obviously it's very supernatural based and it is based on fantasy and all of the tropes that come along with that and the Necronomicon. But it seems it's an interesting take because it is really centered on that theme. And I think in some ways, even though it's obviously very over the top and insanely gory, it has this thing about it because of that central theme of addiction. It kind of keeps it kind of grounded in a strange way and puts it in almost this light of reality. It's very interesting. The cast for The Evil Dead is simply amazing. Shiloh Fernandez, Lou Taylor Pushy, and of course Jane Levy, who is the star of this film, and she is just incredible. And I watched Evil Dead last night. Have it? It's really funny. I have the Evil Dead remake on Blu-ray, and I bought this like a couple of years ago. I think I got it at Goodwill, and it's packed with special features. And for whatever reason, I've never watched it. I never watched it on Blu-ray. I had only seen this movie. I think I know I saw it once on DVD when it came out, like a year after it came out, or a few months after it came out of the theater, and then I think I saw it one other time. No, I think I've only actually seen this one time. And I bought this on Blu-ray, and I never watched it. And I'm like, what the hell? So I watched it last night, and I have to say I was completely blown the fuck away by this movie. This movie is a fucking masterpiece. I think it's absolutely incredible. The reason that I decided to watch this, because it had been sitting on my shelf for a long time, is I saw some news recently that Fede Alvarez is going to be releasing. He just finished up directing it. He is doing the new Alien movie, and it's coming out in August of this year. It's called Alien Romulus, and he directed it and wrote it. And so, and the other thing that had happened was around Christmas time, and I did a review on this. I watched Don't Breathe with Stephen Lang, which is another fucking awesome movie. And that came out a few years back, but really great movie. Disturbing, super raw, pretty nasty. Uh, I really think that movie's incredible. And Fede Alvarez directed it, did the same thing, wrote. It was totally his baby. The sequel is absolutely a piece of shit, and I think Fede Alvarez produced it, but it's really bad. He did not direct it, and he did not write it, and it's pretty obvious. But so, and then I heard that news recently that Fede Alvarez is going to be releasing this year the new Alien movie, and I was like, wow, okay. And so that got my interest, and then I watched an interview, a really interesting interview, really great interview with the real famous director Guillermo del Toro, of course, who directed Pan's Labyrinth, one of the greatest movies ever. He was interviewing Fede Alvarez for like an hour and a half, and I came across it, and he was talking about how he had just finished shooting, and basically he had a rough cut of Alien Romulus, and he showed it to the original director Ridley Scott, and Ridley Scott said that he was like completely blown away by this movie. And Ridley Scott is he is since he's gotten older, he is I don't know he doesn't give a fuck about anything about offending anybody, and he's very honest. I think his track record as a filmmaker has been pretty shitty. So I don't know. His early part of his career was amazing. He was a trailblazer, but I feel like he has kind of lost a lot of that magic over the years. And he's still a legend, but I feel like he has shot himself in the foot many times. I feel like what he did with Prometheus, and then especially Alien Covenant. Prometheus, sometimes there's some aspects of that movie that I think are very interesting and kind of cool. But as a whole, I feel like that movie has no purpose and is not very good and does not um, stick, or does not have really anything to do with the storyline of Alien. And I think it has some redeeming qualities, but and then Alien Covenant, I think, is just a big ball of shit. I think that movie is such a misfire, and that movie was such an utter disappointment and on so many levels. I think that movie was a pure cash grab. Um, but anyway, and I love Alien and Aliens. Those movies are just masterpieces. But again, all of this talk about, and seeing this interview with Fede Alvarez about directing a new Alien movie, I was like, okay, wow, okay, that is interesting. And I had just watched Don't Breathe. I'm like, I don't know, that might be cool. So, in this interview with Ridley Scott, he was talking about Guillermo del Toro, who was doing the interview, asked Fede Alvarez, "What was the first horror movie you ever saw?" And he said he was 12 years old when he first saw Evil Dead, the original. And he said that movie kind of got him into horror. And he said that like a lot of people were always referring, and people still do, and it very much is a part of that movie. He said that a lot of people obviously talk about the campiness of that movie, the low budget nature, but it also is incredibly gory and over the top and scary. But a lot of people look at the campiness, because those movies are, especially the later three Evil Dead films, are kind of like, well, essentially comedies. Um, and he was talking about how most of the time people refer to those films as being, a little bit campy or very campy, especially the first one or first two. So, but he said when he first saw it, he didn't see any of that. He thought that movie was completely terrifying, and he looked at it in a very serious light. So what he said what he wanted to do, and what his intention was to do when he got the green light to do the Evil Dead remake, was to come from that perspective and make the movie really serious. and really dark, and have it come from that place of when he was a kid when he first saw it. And holy shit, like this movie is so raw, so nasty, and so brutal, and it is it's unrelenting. This movie is a masterpiece. And after I watched this last night, I generally got super excited at the prospect of him of seeing the new film that he has just finished, Alien Romulus. If it's anything like this, forget about it. It will be a fucking game changer. I mean, this movie is a fucking masterpiece. The direction, the action sequences, the practical effects are just amazing. The suspense, the creepiness, the atmosphere, it's on 11 the entire time. It's an incredible movie. The transfer of this on Blu-ray is absolutely mind blowing. I was beside myself. I'm like, why have I not watched this movie? Especially since I've never seen it on Blu-ray. I'm like, what's wrong with me? This movie's a masterpiece. And again, it's referred to and it overall is looked at as a remake, but in that regard, I when you're looking at this film as a remake, I have to say I think this probably is the greatest remake ever of a movie ever made. But I honestly I use that term remake from my own perspective. I use it very loosely. I kind of feel, again, like I said in the beginning of the show, this movie is really so very different than Sam Raimi's film that came out and that started the franchise. It's very very different, especially the opening. Again, the theme of addiction being like the main kind of heartbeat of the story. It's very very different. I kind of feel like this is its own movie. It really is, and the shocking gore in this movie is just outrageous. And I love, like, they truly, truly do not make horror films like this anymore. And they don't, horror movies now don't really ever go to this place anymore. Again, and I've talked about it before, Affinity Pool with Mia Goth that came out last year now was my favorite horror film of last year. I have to say, that's the only movie that I've seen go to this level. Like, as far as, really pushing the threshold of violence and gore. But that's kind of sad. They don't make movies like this anymore. Hollywood, big budget Hollywood films, big budget studios, won't go there. They will only show. They'll only go to places of where it's more sanitized, and they're more concerned about, because of the obvious situation, they're more concerned with just getting people in the theater more so than ever and to appeal to a certain demographic. This movie is like a big middle finger to all of that. Like, it's fucking balls out, balls deep. And again, I talked about Don't Breathe. That movie's amazing too, and that's the thing where it got me really excited about thinking about what this new Alien movie could be, Alien Romulus. It got me, at first I was like, I don't know, maybe. But when I got into watching this again and thinking about Fede Alvarez and seeing this interview, I generally got super duper excited. And the thing about Evil Dead and Don't Breathe is that the thing I love about those movies is that they're just so fucking raw and so fucking nasty, and they go to some places that are kind of shocking, and kind of disturbing. So, I think filmmakers in the 70s, 80s, like horror films in the 70s and 80s, like they were not afraid to go the extra mile, to go to those places, to make it generally scary, to really fill the screen with incredible gore, but the main thing being creating that atmosphere. And this movie has that. Like, it's unbelievable. It's all like there is CGI in this film, but it's really hard to see it. It's really hard to tell. And there's some really great special features on this Blu-ray. And from what I can see and from what I could tell, is 90%, if not more, is all practical effects. Like, these people are getting fucked up and they're getting covered in gallons of blood, during the shoot, and they're going through all kinds of physical and mental shit to make this movie. And it shows, because this movie is down and dirty. And that's the thing I love about Don't Breathe. Like, that movie to me is very, just super raw. And again, it goes to places that, filmmakers are, afraid to go to. To go to those darker recesses. And they both do that. And I think the prospect of what he could do with, or what he's done with Alien, is very, very exciting. If he has that kind of control, and he has that level of a vision for this film, this movie could be incredible. But we'll see. So I can't recommend this movie enough. This movie was highly, highly successful. Don't Breathe was actually a very big hit also. So Fede Alvarez is a very well-known, very well-respected movie director. This movie has been very much talked about, but it needs to be talked about even more, because holy shit, this movie is a masterpiece. So thanks again. Hope everyone, or at least here in the Mid-Coast Maine, stays safe, and hopefully we don't lose our fucking power. Thanks again, and we will see you soon. Peace.